Hello campers. So yeah, Lone Wanderer here. Sorry it's been a while. I've got quite a few videos in the pipeline. So the reason why I brought you out here today is obviously just a quick first impressions, if you like, about a knife I got recently. It's a cold, very wet day today. It was absolutely chucking it down this morning when I arrived here at one of my local spots, one of my local camps, hence why I've got the waterproofs on. So the knife, like I say, I'm not going to be using this knife. This is just my first impressions knife. I know people don't really bother with first impressions knife, but I have used it extensively this morning, so I just want to give you my first impressions of it, and I will be doing a video later on at its full capabilities. So at the start, I'll just show you things I like about it, things not too much about it at the start. But for a real review, I need to take this out with me and have it for at least a few weeks, so I can come back and give you my full review of it. So this is a Fallkniven. So it's a Sweden knife. Everybody's heard of Fallkniven. Most serious bushcrafters and outdoor wild campers or whatever, survival experts, professionals know who Fallkniven is. Very well known in survival and bushcraft communities. So, but for me, Fallkniven knives are hit and miss. Now, it's got nothing to do with the quality, it's got nothing to do with the steel. That's really, to me, that's irrelevant. They are really, really well made knives, and knives that you can pretty much bet your life on, so this is not going to be about quality. But the one thing why I don't buy Fallkniven as much as some people do, or as much as I do other knives, is that I can't get on with the handles. Now, as you know, I'm a handle person, and so that's rubbery, plasticky. I do apologise, I don't know what it's called, but there's a special name for it. They're black plastic rubbery handles. I don't know what it is without it, with it on, but I don't know if you're supposed to use their Fallkniven knives with gloves on. I don't know what else, but for people like me, apart from when it's really, really cold, I do wear gloves, by the way, but only when it's cold, when I feel that I can't physically move my hands and fingers and things like that. But 9 times out of 10, I don't wear gloves. I like to feel what I'm doing, the handle, all that comes into play, but that's just me. So a Fallkniven knife, usually for me, is I don't like to use it for that simple reason. The handles are far too textured. They've got this really, really rough, rubberized texture, and which literally, when you've not got gloves on, it literally feels like somebody's rubbing sandpaper on your palms. That's what it feels like when you've been using it all day long. And in conjunction with that, their handles tend to be a little bit blocky as well. So as well as that sandpapery kind of texture that you get from them, you also get hot spots from the way that they've overmolded it. So they've kind of not rounded it off. For me, anyway, this is my opinion. They've not rounded it off as good as they could have done. So not only have you got square blocky handles digging into your hands, no matter what grip you use, you've also got that really sandpaper kind of texture in the middle, what they put into the knife. And for me, even if your hands are wet or sweaty or whatever, for me, personally, I think that's a little bit overkill. They didn't need to do. They should have kept it just like just normal rubber. The same, obviously, rubber as they use, because it is really good quality, but for me, it didn't really need to add that extra texture. I mean, if they didn't add that texture in the middle, I suppose for me, I would probably use Fallkniven knives a lot more, but it's because of that reason I tend to avoid them these days. And I have owned in the past several Fallkniven knives, like the A1, the F1. In fact, I've had 2 F1s. I've had a few folders, Fallkniven folders as well in the past. I've never owned an S1, but I've always wanted to try out the S1 in Cost Steel, which is the S1 X, which is, it's basically slabbed handles rather than the overmolded texture. So why then did I purchase this one? Well, I've been umming and ahhing about this for a few weeks now. I've been looking at videos, I've been looking at reviews, and so it's been on my list for a while. I'd probably say a few weeks, maybe even a month or so, I don't know. So it's been on my conscience for a while, and the one thing that made me buy this is because, which I'll basically show you. Well, I'll show you the sheath first. The sheath, I don't do Kydex or plastic sheaths. I do prefer leather sheaths, so I will be making my own leather sheath for this, but this is a good sheath. It holds it in very, very, very tightly, very tight. Drainage hole, a good nylon belt loop, retaining strap there. It holds the knife really, really well, very, very secure. That's kind of really tight as well, that retaining strap. Even if you take the retaining strap off, you know, you can see how hard I'm shaking it, it still refuses to come out. So you've got a little thumb ramp there, just push on the thumb ramp and it removes the knife. Inside the sheath, you've obviously got a big drainage hole at the bottom, plenty of room there, and it really grips the knife really securely, and I kind of like that. But I'll still be upgrading it because I don't like plastic. Okay, so put that aside. Now, a little bit quickly then. A few quick specs is, so this is the Fallkniven H1. I think it's the H1Z. Z I think stands for Zytel, which is what that sheath is made out of. So as you can see, it's a small knife, so it's not one of their larger ones, but it's perfect for me. I like to have a knife, bushcraft knife, that is just slightly longer, wider than my palm, and this for me is absolutely perfect for bushcraft. When I'm taking it out today, do a bit of bushcraft. Obviously, the typical style, overmolded, rubberized, textured handles, but I'll get to that in a minute. So what you've got here is, I don't know why, but I've got a thing for like big bellies and deep swell. So really, really nice upsweep there. I really like knives with an upsweep belly like that. I've always liked knives like that. That's one of the reasons why I got it, because I just love that shape. This is not considered a bushcraft knife, nor is it considered a survival knife. This, if you go onto the Fallkniven website or any knife website, this is classed as a hunting knife, hence the shape. So the upswept belly there is perfectly for skinning, but a little bit more thought has gone behind it for the professional hunters as well. Is if you look at this tip here, so you've got a pretty much flat spine all the way up to here, and then when it gets to there, it starts to drop down. So it is a drop point, but it's a modified drop point, because not only does it drop there, it further drops down there as well, and that's so you don't cut too deep, so you're not cutting into the bowels of when you're skinning. I think that's really, really well thought out. That's a really good idea, that. But it's still thick enough to penetrate as well. But although this is a light knife and a small knife, it feels really good in hand. I mean, it's really, really stout. I mean, this, you can see how thick that blade is. I mean, let's be honest, most Fallkniven knives are either 5mm or 6mm thick. You know, they do tend to be on the slightly thicker side. So this is 5mm thick. The blade from there to there is around 4 inches. I think it's slightly less than 4 inches, but I'm just going to say 4 inches. The handle, no, probably a little bit longer than 4 inches, maybe 4.5, I don't know, but which I'll explain in a bit, one of the reasons about the handle as well. Full tang construction, you can see the tang there, but it's obviously it's quite broad actually, and obviously it tapers down to there, but you can see the same thickness. So it is full tang with a wrapped over moulded handle on it, and when you hold it in your hand, it really is a stout knife. Still lightweight, you hardly notice it on your belt, but it's still very chunky, very stout knife, and it really does feel like a very good quality knife. Now obviously I love this kind of size. I wasn't after a big knife that you're going to chop with and even baton with, although I've done a bit of batoning this morning. I've got no problems whatsoever batoning with this at all. For the size, this splits wood really well, just as well as a 5 or 6 inch blade. So yeah, I've got no problems with batoning with it, but I will demonstrate that anyway, not today, but another day. I'm just going to, this is like kind of first impressions for me after, was it about 2.5 hours of use, no sorry, 3.5 hours of use this morning. So yeah, lovely belly there, really well. Now, 2 things about this, okay. Number one, I've never ever used a Fallkniven H1 before. It's my first time I've ever had or even held a H1 in my hand. And number 2, the steel. This steel is the pretty much bomb-proof Swedish Elmax steel, and which is pretty much one of their premium steels, if you ask me. Normally I shy away from premium steels because they tend to be either too hard or too expensive or hard to sharpen in the field, because to me, the higher you go up in the scale, the harder it is to sharpen. But I've not sharpened this yet, and I don't need to as of yet, because it's still like a razor. There's no flat spots, no chips, there's no reflections on that apex at all. And like I say, I've been using this for 3.5 hours batoning. I needed to make some 6 new tent pegs out of wood, so I've done that as well, all with this knife. So yeah, so it's first time using it and first time I've ever used Elmax steel, and the steel's holding up really lovely. It's still crazy sharp, which we'll get onto that as well. This I've had a few Fallkniven knives in the past, but this came out of the box like a scalpel blade. It was really stupidly sharp. Now, I've heard people in the past where they've had the H1, but I think it wasn't this model. I think it was the older models that came not very sharp, still sharp enough to work with, but not as sharp. But I've not heard it really had any problems with the Elmax not coming sharp. But I don't know why, because normally Fallkniven knives come razor sharp as long as I've known them and I've used them. None of mine has ever really come blunt or anything like that, unless it's second hand, of course. But yeah, this came really sharp, you know, like a scalpel blade. And obviously, because this is like a professional hunting knife, so when you're using this for hunting, you've got to be experienced to use this kind of knife, I suppose, because it hasn't got a finger guard there. It has got a little bit of a swell there, but as you can see, it's not much. So there's no guard, no deep finger choil. So if you slip with this, it's going to be stitches. No, there's no doubt about it. You know, this is like a razor. And I said to one of my friends the other day, this is probably by far the sharpest Fallkniven knife I've ever owned. Not because they don't come sharp, because they do, but this is definitely for what it is as well. It came in very sharp, like a scalpel. Especially when I was doing the paper cut test, I just slashed through paper like it was nothing, and really clean as well. There wasn't any jags on the edge of the paper or anything. There was nothing like that. It was just one clean slice. like it just slicing through thin air. That's how sharp it was. So really sharp. So more specs then. So we've got a, to me, it's debatable. Normally Fallkniven knives are full convex, as we all know, and this is no exception. This is a full convex. Well, I won't say a full convex, it's kind of a modified convex, because to me, a full convex to me starts at the spine here and then goes all the way down to the apex. That's what, to me, that's what's classed as a full convex. So this is not a full convex to me, because obviously you've got a bevel, so it starts there, and as you can see, it convex there, so you've got a lovely convex there, and then it thins out towards the apex, but it's almost like a semi kind of saber grind. So it's like half convex, half saber grind, if that makes sense to you. So you've got that kind of saber grind there, but without the secondary bevel, because obviously when you've got convex you don't need a secondary bevel. That's the whole point of the convex, you know. So it's got no, I can't see any secondary bevel on that at all. So it starts to convex there, and then it thins out towards the edge. But when you look at it, it is more like a saber grind with the strength of a convex, if that makes sense. So yeah, it's a bit of an unusual one for Fallkniven, but God, man, this thing is sharp. Even now, you know, I don't want to touch it with my bare fingers because I know how sharp this is still. So yeah, 4-inch blade, Elmax steel, super steel, semi-convex, so more like a saber convex, if there is such a thing. Rubber over molded textured handle. Okay, so let's get onto the handle then. So why did I purchase this knife if I know that most Fallkniven knives, unless it's the mega expensive ones that have got wooden handles or McCarter handles, so why did I go back to this? And that is because this is a hunting knife. Okay, so, and for a hunting knife it makes sense to have a barrel shaped handle so that it does not slip out of your hand. Okay, and it's got to be comfortable with a hunting knife. Now traditional hunting knife, they're really nice, they kind of like a barrel shaped handles. They don't want to be square, especially when you're skinning game and things like that of that nature. And that's one of the reasons why I purchased it. It's because they've actually, Fallkniven have actually modified this handle. So from this view in the camera it looks like your typical Fallkniven handle, but actually when I turn it to there, can you see how it's rounded? Which usually with Fallkniven it's not as rounded as this. So if I hold it this way, you can see it's almost like a bushcraft knife. See how rounded it is? So this makes it way more comfortable, and this is way more comfortable than a Fallkniven F1. I've owned two F1s in some of the older steels, and I didn't like them because again it was that handle, but this is a total different kettle of fish already. Yes, you've still got the aggressive sandpaper kind of texture there, but because it's rounded a lot more than a lot of Fallkniven knives, especially the F1 that I couldn't get on with, it is really comfortable. Really comfortable. It's a lot more comfortable than an F1. Now, but that's my opinion. That's for me, because I don't wear gloves. Unless, like I said at the start of the video, unless it's very cold, then I'll put my gloves on. So for me, that ticks a nice box for me. Yes, it's still got that texture, but it's not enough to put me off using this knife, because I've been using it all morning. I got teeny tiny hot spots from there, but nowhere near as bad as an F1 or A1 or any of those that I've used before. So this is a lot more forgiving than any of those blades. I love the size, I love the lovely chunkiness of it. So far I'm loving the steel, but I'm just going to put that on a peg at the minute until I've fully tested this steel out, which is going to take a few weeks. I want to put it through its paces to see what this steel can really take for slicing. Obviously I'm not going to be doing heavy chopping trees down with it because it's only a 4-inch knife, it's only a 4-inch blade, so that'd be a bit pointless really, even though it's got a lanyard hole. I never understand why it's got a lanyard hole on knives this kind of small, because you're not really going to be doing too much chopping, but I don't know. Well, to me it didn't really need to be there. It's just a bit of a pain in the arse really, but this really does probably the most comfortable Fallkniven knife I've probably ever held in my hand. It's not 100% comfortable, but comfortable enough for me, because normally I don't like rubber or plastic handles, I hate them. But this is, to me, in my opinion, this is passable. I could quite easily use this for quite a long time, which I obviously have done this morning. Don't want to get waffling on too much, but I will be doing an extensive review on this. So yeah, Sheath is alright. It does its job until I make a leather one, because I do prefer leather sheaths. But the Sheath is outstanding as well if you like your Zytol, your plastic kind of sheaths. So there's nothing wrong with it. That's just my opinion. I like leather. Elmax is, like I say, it's a very high-end steel, stainless steel as well. So obviously this knife has been wet this morning because although it's not raining now, it was absolutely chucking it down earlier on. So this knife did get wet, and even though it performed faultlessly, so the blade got wet, but I've got no issues with it rusting because, again, stainless steel. So as long as I wipe the blade before I put it back in the sheath, which I do anyway, there's no problems. At no point whatsoever did I ever feel that this knife is going to fall out of my hands, because, like I say, you've still got that texture there, that rubber texture. Now, unless you've got bloody butter fingers or oil on your hands, this is never going to come out of your hand, never. At no point did I ever feel this knife was ever going to come out of my hand when I was doing slicing jobs. And slicing, this thing is what it does well. Obviously, I need some more seasoning. I need some more field time with this, because I need to get used to the size, the shape, the modified convex grind they've put on it, and obviously, of course, the handle. So I can't do a full review yet until I've researched it fully and took it in the field and used it even more. But so far, I actually really like this. I do like it. I think it's one of the best Fallkniven knives I've owned, to be fair. The ergonomics on that handle is, it really is, it's good, it's fantastic. They did really well, you know, rounding this off. They did a really good job with that. It does have some cons, which I'll go into probably in another video, but one major one for me is, because I've got like kind of medium to large hands, is I would have liked to see this handle a little bit longer. It's just long enough, because you can see it poking out there, and it's just long enough. But when you're doing something like chest lever cuts, when I hold the knife this way, obviously my hand is covering the end of the handle, the pommel end, so that does tend to dig into your palms a bit, but it's forgivable. I can work around that, which I have done this morning. I can definitely work around that. So it's not as bad as some knives I've used. But yeah, really liking this so far, and I'll do a more of a long-term review in a few weeks' time. But for now, yeah, definitely best one I've used so far in the Fallkniven lineup. And I can see why people like the Elmax steel. I'd say I'm more old school. I don't really tend to use the modern super steels, but I don't know, maybe I should, I don't know. This is performing faultlessly so far, and I've not stropped it yet, so I'm going to wait until it gets dull a bit, over the coming weeks, and then see how quick I could put an edge on this just using a basic strop. But like I said, I mean, the grind is done exceptionally well. It really does bite into the wood. I know I said I won't do an extensive review, but I just want to show you. Okay, so how deep straight away. And you can just feel it. You can feel how deep. Bear in mind, this is like ash. You can just feel how deep that bites into the wood straight away, compared to other knives of this size that I've used. It's almost like a Scandi grind when you bite into a wood for the first time with a Scandi grind, with really sharp Scandi grind. That's what it feels like. It's got really good bite to it, and you know, straight away, just, you know, superb grind on this. Done a really good job. And just look how, there's no effort at all. I mean, just look at that. You know how clean that is straight away. Nice and clean, comfortable. It just wants to bite. It really wants to bite, this knife. It really does. It's got some really good bite to it. You know, that edge is done so well, really well. Yeah, I'd prefer this. I'd take this over the F1 any day. Yeah, the F1 might have some advantages over this. Obviously the blade shape is one of them, but as far as comfort goes and as far as the edge goes, I prefer this. I'd take this over the F1 any day of the week. In fact, I don't even have to think about it. If the two knives were in front of me and I can only afford one of them, I'd choose this every time, knowing that I've used both knives in the past. And I've just obviously used this knife now. After using this knife and comparing it to the F1, yeah, definitely choose this over the F1. But like I say, this is my opinion. I don't want you to go out there and buy a H1 because I said it's better than an F1. This is my opinion. This is going to be a knife that I use for my purposes. You might be different. You might prefer an F1 over this. I don't know. But yeah, I do prefer this over an F1. It's outstanding. It's really good knife. Really beefy knife. Cuts really deep. Really sharp. What more can you ask for a knife this size? Yeah, brilliant. I'm going to cut it off there, and let me know in the comments if you've got one or got an older one. One thing I didn't mention in the video, I don't want to keep bragging on because it's nearly 30 minutes now, but one thing I didn't know is this knife has been out for just over 20 years, and I only just found out yesterday. So over 20 years this knife's been out. Obviously not in the Elmax steel, because the Elmax steel is relatively new, but they originally came out in a VG10 steel, and they made 3G steel, and I believe, according to somebody I was talking to the other day who knows about Fallkniven, they made one in the COS steel as well, but they are incredibly rare. I don't know if it was a limited edition, I'm not too sure, but and this is the updated Elmax version. I think this is the only version that you can get now, unless it's second hand. I've looked online yesterday and I can't find any that's in 3G or VG10 that wasn't second hand. So if you're buying this from a retailer, it's going to be Elmax, I think. But yeah, so yeah, a knife that's been over 20 years and I never even knew it existed. So yeah, thanks for watching, and keep a lookout for in the upcoming weeks when I put this through its test for its paces, and just let you know really what I think after a few weeks. So thanks for watching. Bye bye for now. Bye bye.